Tehachapi State Prison, which is located in Southern California, would first open its doors as a male facility all the way back in 1954. Today, it is home to some 2,700 minimum to maximum security custody individuals and is known as a very violent institution. Back on May 11th, 2009, an inmate by the name of Evan Broderick, who was serving time for grand theft, would be found brutally stabbed to death on one of the institution's recreation yard. And although not much information was given regarding the attack, what happened immediately after the attack, it is known that the two suspects who were immediately identified as Evan Broderick's killers were 26-year-old Travis Frazier and 29-year-old Kenneth Nolan, each self-described as skinheads.
For more than a decade, he's been a member of the Nazi lowrider prison gang.
A two-striker, he was released from a California penitentiary just a few months ago.
Splasher reports he brings a message with him. Chris?
Simply put, there is no future in gang life. In this Fox Undercover report, an exclusive talk with a man who says the gang lifestyle is overrated. In his case, the Nazi lowriders, or NLR.
Many people just can't seem to understand how I can despise a black the way I can.
He reads from a racist poem he wrote while sitting in a prison cell. A swastika, a Klansman, and other sinister images completely sleeve his arms.
This is how they are when you meet them. This is how they are a couple weeks later.
But he says he's had enough of the hate.
I just don't think that way anymore. I mean, I really don't.
He once went by the nickname German. He's 31 years old, and tattoos show he spent time behind bars in nearly half the years of his life.
There ain't nothing happening in there. You know, you gotta have somebody tell you what to do each and every hour of your life. You know, complete control.
Prison records confirm he's a Nazi lowrider, or NLR. German claims to be one of 30 original Orange County NLR members.
Most everybody's either in jail, prison, or dead. You know, I've had 6 homeboys in the last 3 years die from shots of dope.
He says the main focus of NLR members is dope, mostly speed or heroin.
Yeah, typical, a lot of drugs involved.
An addiction that rules their lives in and outside prison walls.
You know, once you get to that point, which is a heck of a lot sooner than you think it will be, then you're screwed. Because you gotta have it.
Drugs have left his liver badly damaged. And he knows how drugs feed the cycle of NLR violence. For example, this NLR parolee hopped up on speed. Last spring was shot dead after pulling a gun on a Torrance police officer. But German says the NLR itself can be more of a threat than the law.
And if you're not co-signing the moves that they want to do for whatever their little petty puke reason is, then you're a target, man. Straight out.
Here in prison 2 years ago, German was nearly beaten to death by 3 fellow NLR members. He is left with 2 metal plates in his skull.
Yeah, I didn't appreciate it, but I didn't go to court and raise my hand either.
Still, Corrections Department investigators say NLR ranks have grown from 26 validated members to an estimated 1,300 in just the last 3 years, all fueled by drugs and racial hatred.
You get a lot of these youngsters, you know, that are they're sick with it.
NLR recruits are often Nazi skinheads who come to prison. German says the NLR is out of control.
I had these knuckleheads literally arguing over who got to whack the next guy. You know, whether it was actually sticking somebody or just beating them down. Well, hey, it's my turn, brother.
For whatever it's worth from someone who's been there, he says, tattoos mark you as an alien in the real world. Drugs rot your body and control what's left of a mind already twisted by violence and hatred.
All it's going to get you is either death or life behind bars, inevitably. It will grab you before you know it.
And he says, if you don't believe him, and these are his words, there are a lot of guys sitting in prison doing life that wish they had the opportunity to deliver the same.
Number 1, or P9.
And the State Department of Corrections is now calling them an emerging public threat. Chris Blatchford is here to expose this group for the first time on TV. Chris.
Also known as the P9 Death Squad, law enforcement intelligence says the gang is increasing recruitment efforts in the ranks of white supremacist skinheads. And as we see in this Fox Undercover report, the Peni is making a push for power in prisons, but also out on the streets. This dog's owner belongs to a group so taken with violence.
His name's Hitman Tank.
He jokes even his pit bull carries a sawed-off shotgun. But later, seeing the dog in action, it's arguable Tank doesn't need a weapon. He is one.
If I don't have a gat, I start bombing on somebody, my dog locks on you too. So it's a little dog boy. Good boy, Tank.
And as night falls in this remote area near Big Bear,
Myself, I have over 300 guns.
the tattooed hands of Tank's owner ready a .38 revolver. Quickly use it to demonstrate his murderous method. He is a shot caller in a gang called Public Enemy Number 1. Mostly known as Peni, sometimes referred to as PDS, short for the Peni Death Squad. Ready to kill enemies and snitches.
I'll end up with one of these when I got 16 gauge right here. Guarantee you won't get up if I blast you, you know?
As far as we can determine, Peni started in Long Beach about 1986. A small group of teenagers stealing their name from a hardcore punk rock band called Rudimentary Peni.
Rudimentary Peni, that's how Peni started.
This Peni member, in a police tape obtained by Fox 11 News, remembers the beginning.
When we were kids, and when we started this as kids, we were all punk rockers at Disneyland.
He is Brody Davis, a parolee who has done time for intimidating a witness. A far cry from Disneyland, he and his Peni brothers put down roots in the white supremacist skinhead movement, fertilized by hate, still blossoming into racist anger. By the early 90s, Peni had moved to Orange County, which became its main stomping grounds. Anaheim became a familiar haunt. Detective Tim Miller remembers them for auto theft, burglaries, and drug activity.
They were all into dope. Using methamphetamine was really the big thing, drug of choice.
7 grams.
Now, the drug culture runs through the veins of the Peni organization like blood.
This is what you call methamphetamines, glass.
Especially methamphetamines. But in all fairness, some Peni talk against the use of drugs.
Dad, we don't all do drugs, Dad. Do you know what a skinhead is? A skinhead is a working class man that doesn't do drugs.
Everybody wants.
But clearly,
That's number one drug.
it appears Peni use of meth is epidemic.
Everybody's on it. So all it is just crack. It's another form of crack.
And also, for Peni,
I just do this for the money.
meth is a major source of income.
I'll do jail time, I'll do whatever I have to do to make the money, to get my coin, you know, and I live by the code of silence.
And he lives on the profits of drug sales.
Probably about $400 a day, but I'm not really pushing the issue.
He says he gets the dope from Peni buddies.
Partners make it.
For a while, they were making it here.
Oh, we're manufacturing. Speed.
That's until the dangerous chemicals used to make meth exploded.
We got a spark and the house went up.
Apparently, flames destroyed the cabin before firefighters and police arrived.
Well, I usually have it turned on.
These Peni often monitor police activity on a scanner.
Well, blast.
And according to law enforcement intelligence obtained by Fox 11 News,
There's some holes in mother head.
Peni are actively recruiting new members to...
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Greenlit Gang TV. Hope y'all having a blessed day. Thank you guys so much for checking out today's video. If you do like it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. So today's video, we're going to be talking about a murder that took place at Tehachapi State Prison back in 2009. Tehachapi's been in the news this year mainly for the Tory Lanez attempted murder. That was a really crazy video. If you get a good chance to go watch it. It's out there. It's circulating out there on the internet. But Tehachapi has actually been around for decades. Opened as a men's institution in 1954. Before that, it was actually a women's institution. But before we jump into it, I just want to say this. So I know the first thing some people are going to think about when they hear me say 2009 is, oh my God, man, we're going on 15, 16 years old. But as someone who has consumed this kind of content long before I ever had a YouTube channel, man, I'm going to make the videos and the stories that I want to make. I don't mind the stories that are old. I don't mind watching the old news clips. When I'm watching a documentary or a YouTube video or you name it, right? Or reading about something, if it's interesting, I don't care what year it's from. I'm always going to bring you guys up-to-date news stories. This year in 2025, we've really focused on CDCR and the murders that have occurred out of there. I will always keep you guys up to date on the newest, violence that has occurred within the CDCR. Just like my last video, the murder took place at Solano back just on September 24th, just about a week ago. I'm going to keep up to date on that, I promise you guys. But when I come across a story like this, where basically, the main character of this story, Mr. Frazier, Travis Frazier, he was a self-confessed, self-described skinhead, right? He's out of Orange County. Just reading his background, I'm like, man, this will make for a good video. I think you guys are going to like it. If you hate, a story that's older than 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, the channel might not be for you. I hope it's for you. I hope you guys continue to watch and support. But again, I can't force you to like something, but I just kind of want to get that out there again and explain why I cover the stories I do cover. So today brings us to our story. The Tehachapi, this is the case. Well, the main character of the story is Travis Frazier. We're covering the murder of Evan Broderick that occurred on May 11th, 2009. We're going to be reading some information about that first. Then we're going to be going into Travis Frazier's background as well, which is full of it's full of violence. It's full of absolute violence. And it's kind of the stereotypical background of somebody that you would view as and I get it, not all skinheads are violent. I get a lot of comments when I do the skinhead videos saying, hey, we're not all drug addicts. We're not all violent. But again, the ones that make the media, the ones that make the news are individuals like Travis Frazier. So May 11th, 2009, an inmate has been found stabbed to death at a state prison east of Bakersfield, allegedly by 2 fellow inmates serving murder sentences. Prison officials say 20-year-old Evan Broderick was found with multiple stab wounds Monday at the California Correctional Institution in Tehachapi. The attack happened in a yard at the prison, which houses nearly 6,000 minimum and maximum custody inmates. Officials have not said what weapons were used or how the inmates obtained them. The suspects are 26-year-old Travis Frazier and 29-year-old Kenneth Nolan. Frazier is serving a life sentence without parole for a first-degree murder conviction out of Orange County, and Nolan is serving a 40-year sentence out of San Diego County for second-degree robbery and a consecutive sentence for second-degree murder. Then came across another article with a little bit more of a breakdown, of just kind of like Evan Broderick he only went in for like a 3-year grand theft charge. He did get into segregation and a little bit higher level of security because he attacked somebody while locked up. But you could tell there was some people who were upset about the fact that Evan Broderick was mixing with the likes of Frazier and Kenneth Nolan. This is another article about that. An inmate who was stabbed to death while imprisoned for a relatively minor offense was housed alongside much more serious offenders in a solitary confinement facility because he'd attacked his cellmate, officials said Tuesday. Evan Broderick, 20, died from multiple stab wounds Monday at the California Correctional Institution in Tehachapi, east of Bakersfield. He was serving a 3-year term for grand theft in Sonoma County, but in March was placed in the prison security housing unit, a max security facility that puts prisoners in solitary confinement for 23 hours a day, after he assaulted his general population cellmate with a weapon, prison spokesman Lieutenant John Bartleman said. It was during the 1 hour out of his cell in a concrete exercise yard enclosed with walls that Broderick could mingle with other prisoners and was stabbed. Nolan had been in solitary since January 2008 for attempted murder of a prison official, and Frazier was placed in the facility in December for battery of an official. So again, remember the story's in 2009. So all 3 individuals, the 2 attackers and the victim, had not been in solitary for very long. Although Broderick was serving a comparatively short sentence, he was deemed a risk to other inmates and the security of the prison, so he was placed in solitary. And that was according to the lieutenant, and the spokesman for the prison. Okay, so gets murdered. I put the pictures up of his mother. What's crazy about this, guys, I'll be honest, if you can't already tell, I could not find a picture of Evan Broderick, but I found a picture of his mom, who there is giving her victim impact statement. And Travis Frazier, he's kind of yupping it up in the courtroom. He's laughing, he's carrying on, he's smiling with his lawyers, he's turning around smiling. He's got the shackles around the waist, he's got the mittens on his hands. Those are all just mechanisms, defense tactics for him to not be able to hurt himself or others around him. So that takes us to Travis Frazier's background. Now, Yes, Evan Broderick's murder was brutal. They found out that he was basically stabbed to death with homemade prison weapons, because I know it said in that article they weren't sure how he died, but it did come out in another piece that I read that he was actually stabbed to death. But what got Travis Frazier to prison was almost even more violent. It was for a 7-Eleven robbery for the murder of a guy, basically an immigrant by the name of Suresh Das. And we're just going to read this article from September 8th of 2005, and this is from one of his initial court appearances for this murder. Travis Frazier, who was 22 at the time, of Tustin, and Spencer Fox, 20, I put both their pictures up, of Irvine, had been charged with murdering a night clerk at an Irvine 7-Eleven store, and I did put Suresh Das's picture up as well. The pair is accused of beating and stabbing to death Suresh Das, 54, of Irvine in the early morning hours of Tuesday, March 2nd, 2004. Frazier and Fox have been charged with murder, attempted robbery, and the special circumstance of murder during the course of an attempted robbery. These charges make Frazier and Fox eligible for the death penalty. The slaying took place at about 2:20 a.m. at the 7-Eleven in the Culver Plaza in Irvine. The store surveillance tape shows two masked individuals entering the store and attacking Mr. Das. The masked pair is accused of stabbing Das with a knife, beating him with a flashlight, and attempting to take money from the cash register, but failing in their attempts to open the register. They were then seen fleeing the store by two security guards who were in the parking lot. At approximately 2:30 a.m. on March 2nd, 2004, Fox and Frazier entered a 7-Eleven in Irvine dressed in black and wearing masks and approached the store clerk. This is more information that I got from a separate article. Frazier used a heavy metal flashlight to bludgeon Suresh Das, who was working behind the counter, 7 times over the head, fracturing his skull. See, and this is why I read different things, because it gives you just more info. The more info, the better, right? Who was working behind the counter, and stabbed the victim in the chest, piercing his heart with a large hunting knife. As Das lay dying, Frazier ordered the victim to tell them how to open the cash register as Fox tried to pry it open with the knife. The defendants fled the scene after realizing that the victim was dead and took off layers of clothes and laughed as they ran out of the parking lot. That's brutal. The murder was captured on video by a store surveillance camera. Irvine police officers set up a perimeter, and the police led them to Frazier. Fox was arrested the following day at an apartment in Anaheim. Now, I did find appeal that Frazier filed, and it just gives even more information. Basically, he was contesting his life without parole. Okay, he was without parole sentence and all that. And here are the relevant facts. Just gives you even more of an idea how vicious this attack was. On March 2nd, 2004, Frazier and his accomplice entered a 7-Eleven convenience store to commit robbery. Frazier beat the store clerk over the head with a flashlight, hitting him 8 times, and his friend stabbed the clerk in the heart. Frazier's blows fractured the victim's skull in 3 places. He was unable to order the cash drawer. The pair fled the scene empty-handed. Defendant's accomplice drove away, and Frazier fled on foot. The victim, Suresh Das, died at the scene. Security guards who witnessed Frazier and his compatriot escape claimed they were laughing as they exited the store. Frazier would deny that. About 5 minutes later, an Irvine Police Department officer arrived at the scene and determined the victim was dead. With the help of a police dog, the officer located and apprehended Frazier. The officer also recovered multiple items near the 7-Eleven, including a knife, a pair of gloves, a padlock, a pair of pants, a backpack, a ski cap, a flashlight, a black t-shirt, and a black jacket. DNA testing on the gloves revealed the victim's blood on the outside of the Frazier's DNA on the inside. The pants and also one of the masks also contained Frazier's DNA. Surveillance video of the murder was played for the jury. Frazier admitted to being the person depicted in the video beating the victim with the flashlight, but testified, now get this, he did not intend to kill the store clerk and did not have any idea what he was doing in that store, claiming unconsciousness as a result of methamphetamine use. He said he was under heavy influence of methamphetamine at the time of the murder. Because he needed money for rent, he intended to rob his drug dealer, but was unable to contact his dealer. And then it says he sat in his car, and this is crazy, for 5 hours smoking marijuana. Eventually he said, okay, nope, I'm going to rob any drug dealer. Well, when that didn't happen, he goes, all right, I'm robbing anybody. And that's when they enter the 7-Eleven in the store. But he still swears, hey, man, I didn't mean to hurt anybody. So that's a bunch of bullshit. Basically, Travis Frazier is now pleading for his life without parole sentence, going, hey, man, I'm a druggie. I'm just a low life. I'm just smoking too much dope, and I don't remember anything. And I swear I walked into 7-Eleven with a hunting knife and this heavy flashlight and the ski mask and all this stuff, but I wasn't going to hurt anybody. And then all of a sudden I cracked this poor guy over the head 8 times, stabbed him in the heart, and we're laughing, and he's trying to tell us how to open the cash register, but we're too stupid to figure that out, so we run out of there. We end up empty-handed, and we end up with murder charges. As you can tell, this one I am a little bit, I don't know why when I read that stuff, when I hear about them laughing as they're running out of there, as that poor guy's dying, just running a 7-Eleven convenience store. I don't know. It just bothers me a little bit. And then you see the pictures of him laughing in court again after he kills Evan Broderick, and the pain. He just is a wrecking ball, Travis Frazier, and not in a good way. He's a wrecking ball in the worst kind of way. He victimizes people who can't defend themselves. He ends up being found guilty of the 7-Eleven murder, obviously gets a life without parole. Then he kills Broderick in 2009. He gets found guilty of that murder in 2013. And then he ends up getting the death sentence. And so he gets found guilty in June of 2013 of Evan Broderick's Tehachapi Prison murder. Okay, he gets sentenced to death in September of 2013 for that same murder. And that's where he remains. Now, or, there's probably a moratorium on the death sentence, so maybe that thing got commuted. But regardless, was his sentence and had not been overturned. Now, little side note on his co-defendant in this case, I thought it was interesting, Kenneth Nolan. I just did a quick little research on him. He's known as Thunder, and it read about how he'd been incarcerated on death row, currently in the infirmary, but he became basically this pretty well-known poet. And you guys can go online and look at that for yourself, some of his artwork. And it basically said how he grew up, rough background, grew up in the CYA, the California Youth Authority, ended up getting sentenced to death while serving time in prison for robbery. By his own self-admission, he used to be a racist, but he ended up renouncing his racist ways in 2011, and he completely cut ties with the gang, shifted his focus to family and inner peace. And what's interestingly enough is the rapper J. Cole did a tour of the prison and wanted to meet fellow poets, artists, musicians, and he actually met Kenneth Nolan. And I just think that's interesting because it's like you can picture a world-famous rapper J. Cole, and even if you don't like rap, J. Cole's kind of one of those guys that you kind of respect him. He's not a gangster rapper. He's just a normal guy. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And you can picture him shaking this Kenneth Nolan hand, who is a, renowned, self-professed skinhead, even though by that time he denounced it. Just crazy, man. Life's just crazy. That's. I guess I'll just leave it at that. But vicious, brutal, Travis Frazier, right where he belongs. I don't know why reading that 7-Eleven story bothered me so much. I guess I just picture. You got a guy who's almost 55 years old, 2:20 a.m., and just the whole laughing and all that. And then to try to come back on your appeal and say, I was high on drugs and I don't remember anything. I go, God, that's such a cop-out. That's such a cop-out. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Until next time, you already know what it is. Peace.